I want to talk to you about onboarding checklist. And of course, we're speaking about client onboarding checklist. So if you are a coach, you really want to focus on the guide I'll be sharing with you to this conversation. So here is a synopsis. Basically, let's say you are running a coaching business and a new client just said yes to your coaching package and you are over the moon, right? You're very happy because you're thinking ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching. But the question is, how can you make sure your client has a positive experience right off the bat? And not only at the beginning, but throughout their entire coaching journey with you. What is really making you different? What kind of value can you add to this client's life? And one of the most important steps in coaching your clients is actually the onboarding process. And this is important because it sets the tone right off the bat for the entire relationship and can make or break your coaching business and also revenue generation strategy. Okay. And that's basically why every coach should have a client onboarding checklist to streamline this process. But what needs to be included on this checklist really depends on your niche, depends on your personality, but also depends on what you are offering. Okay. And so in today's conversation, I want to talk to you about what client onboarding really is. Why should coaches use a client onboarding checklist, no matter where they're at, no matter where the niche is? What should you include in your client onboarding checklist? And also, you want to really think about how to adapt things as you scale. Let me first define what's really primary to this conversation. So, what is client onboarding? Client onboarding is pretty simple. It's actually the process every coach should go through when welcoming new coaching clients into their world. It's you actually welcoming your prospect into your world, and after that prospect will become a client. For example, how do you collect their information? What happens right after they've signed your coaching contract? Who handles the booking of sessions? You got to have a clear idea about those preeminent questions. Okay, a client onboarding checklist, on the other hand, is actually a documented version of that process. It really outlines every step of the way, every step that should happen in the right order, right? Sequentially, things have to be really clear. Let's talk about the reasons here. Why should you you as a coach, use a client onboarding checklist? Or the general question, why should coaches use a client onboarding checklist? The thing is that it's all about branding, it's all about efficiency, but more importantly, it's all about scalability. Every coach has an onboarding process, whether they know it or not. That's for sure, because otherwise they wouldn't be able to survive in this very competitive coaching field. But if you don't know your process, your own onboarding process, you could accidentally be giving your clients a negative experience, and you don't want to have that. So here is why a client onboarding checklist matters, no matter your level of experience as a coach, no matter your niche, no matter your geography, no matter everything. First of all, one of the reasons why you want to have a client onboarding checklist is because it allows you to become more productive. So when you have a checklist to rely on, you're not going to waste any more time wondering what's next on your onboarding to-do list, right? And we're speaking about wasting your time, but also your client's time, because everything becomes structured in a client onboarding checklist. And the checklist also allows you to get prepared for coaching sessions much more quickly, since you'll have all the vital information at your fingertips. Next, you are able to establish boundaries, and boundaries are really important in any coaching business. So your client onboarding checklist will act as a boundary between you and your clients. This helps you start the relationship on the right foot. And basically what I mean here is that you get to show up as a leader and set expectations early on. For example, you can use the checklist to establish that you require clients to complete their intake form before they jump on their first coaching session. This helps you make the most of your time with them. And the thing is, without a checklist, you can forget to remind clients all of important boundaries. And if they cross those boundaries later, it will not be their fault for not knowing, right? Because you already told them at the very beginning. And your checklist takes on the responsibility of remembering each step, so you don't have to spend any mental energy doing so. Remember, you have a business to run and you should be focusing on that business. The third reason why you want to have a client onboarding checklist is that it improves client outcomes. And the client outcomes are really important because if you're thinking about adding value to your client, you want to focus on the client outcomes. So without a checklist, you're much more likely to let important steps fall through the cracks. In return, this can hurt your credibility or even hinder your ability to coach your client properly. And Lord knows, there goes your revenue drain, right? Your revenue decline. For example, imagine jumping on an initial coaching session when you have forgotten to send the intake questionnaire. Whew, that's crazy. But it happens to coaches every day in this country. And so what happens here in that hypothetical scenario is that you would have to take this first session to ask the questions instead, which is a waste of both your and your client's time. On the other hand, a client onboarding checklist helps you get everything you need to show up as the best version of yourself throughout the entire coaching process. And the better equipped you are as a coach, the more you can support your clients and help them achieve the outcomes that they desire. Also, another way to actually use a checklist in your to your advantage is that you get better testimonials and referrals. Your client onboarding process checklist will help you wow your new clients early on, because what happens here is that you are thinking about your branding. You're also thinking about your first impression, right? Because you are establishing yourself as a professional who knows what he or she is doing. And your clients, believe me, will be much happier to give you a glowing testimonial or even send referrals your way if they have a positive onboarding experience with you. Again, I want to go back to what I said a little earlier. First impression matters, and first impressions are always the true ones. So that's option one. Option two, on the other hand, imagine how they will feel if they approach you and they realize that the process is actually really messy, scatterbrained. They may begin to doubt your skills, which can hurt the coaching relationship. And without a healthy client relationship, you will struggle to help them achieve their goals in the first place. So what are the features here? What should you include in your client onboarding checklist this year? The first thing you want to really include is the contract and payment process, because the payment process is where the ka-ching, the money should be coming in. Remember, coaching is a business. You are not a philanthropy. You're not a charity. So you got to really find avenues for generating revenue. So the first step in any client onboarding process should be the proposal, contract, and payment. It's best to complete all of this in a single step when possible. If you close your clients directly on a discovery call, you won't need to send them a proposal. But if you don't, you will need to share at least some information and benefits about your coaching program. So that's kind of important, okay? And so the thing here is that you can actually have, let me give you an example. You can actually discuss your amazing monthly coaching package on a discovery call with a potential client, right? And once the call is actually complete, you can send them an email with a link to that package's landing page. And the landing page can contain all the necessary information your prospects needs to know to make a decision, exactly like a proposal. But instead of recreating a proposal from scratch every time, you can reuse the same landing page. And once the prospect clicks book now, they will land on the checkout page where they can pay you upfront. And they got to pay you upfront. Very important. And if you have a coaching contract, you can show the contract immediately after they have paid. Clients will not be able to book their first session until they have signed the contract. Number two, you can share the coaching intake survey. That's really a good way also. And so no matter your coaching niche, it always helps to know as much as possible about your clients before, and I want to insist on that, before you begin coaching them. That's where a client intake form comes in handy. Keep in mind that you should have two separate forms for your free discovery sessions and your paid coaching programs. Some coaches prefer to have no intake forms at all for free sessions, and that's bad. Intake forms for discovery sessions should actually be used to qualify potential clients and help you ask the right questions on the call. On the other hand, your intake survey will give you everything you need to tailor the entire coaching process for each client. So by sending your clients an onboarding questionnaire, you will save actually valuable time on the first coaching session. You can prepare yourself using the info your clients provide on that form, which can help you make the session much more transformative. So that's kind of cool, especially when it comes to helping you move forward. Without a coaching intake survey, you will likely need to dedicate the entire first session to asking those questions. Guess what? You don't need a separate survey builder if you're already using the right software. Instead, you can build and connect your forms to the relevant coaching packages. So that's kind of cool. You can also decide exactly when your clients should receive your survey. And for an onboarding survey, you can choose the purchase trigger and set it to send immediately. That's fantastic. Next, you want to send digital resources. Okay, if your coaching package includes digital products, this should be next on your client onboarding checklist. Remember to share this digital resources in your initial welcome email. And you have to, because that's how you actually establish a good relationship right off the bat. You don't have to, listen, don't try to really reinvent the wheel. Keep things simple. You don't have to include the files directly in your email, but you should provide instructions for how they can access the files. It's all about giving granularity in terms of instruction. It's all about giving granular instructions right off the bat. For instance, you can share a download link directly in your email, or you can let them know that they will receive a separate email that grants them access. So if a clients unlock your digital products only later in the coaching process, let them know what to expect. This can actually avoid frustration and confusion for both of you. Also, you can provide access to the client portal. So again, we are still speaking about a client onboarding checklist, okay? So providing access to the client portal is kind of quintessential. Don't forget to share the login information with your client if you offer a client portal like the one available in Mighty Networks or Paperbell or other coaching software tools. And you can include this in your welcome email along with an intake survey and digital resources. Even better, you can host your digital signatures in your client portal if possible. And by doing that, you can actually give your client a one-stop shop to find everything they need relating to your coaching services, right? It's all about flexibility, but it's also about efficiency. To make it even easier for your coaching clients to make use of your client portal, you can record yourself giving a walkthrough of every feature. Don't say anyone's name on the portal. You can reuse the same video recording for every client. So you can use a tool like Loom to record yourself quickly. Alternatively, you can record yourself in a solo Zoom meeting and use the replay. So that's kind of cool. In this step, you should also provide your client with access to the logistics they need to get your support. For example, would you host coaching sessions on Zoom? If so, make sure they have easy access to your Zoom link. Will you also provide Voxer coaching in between sessions? Remember to add them on Voxer and let them know which days and times you'll be available to respond. Next, you want to book the first coaching session. See, we are still having a conversation about how to create the perfect client onboarding checklist. So you should be giving the clients the ability to book the first coaching session. Once your client has completed their onboarding intake form, it's time for them to book their first session with you. It's up to every coach to decide how their clients can book their sessions. But if you want to save your time and you want to save yourself some time while also providing the best possible experience for your client, consider letting clients book themselves into your calendar. That's a lot easier. That's a lot more efficient. Yes, letting clients book themselves can lead to a bunch of scheduling issues when it's not handled properly. But you can proactively solve these issues by setting up your calendar with the schedule of your choice. If you don't want to give coaching sessions on Friday, block it off. If you want to save Mondays for free discovery calls, remove your availability for coaching sessions on those days, right? It's all about flexibility. Not every calendar booking tool lets you set up different availabilities for each appointment type. So you have to see software that really helps you get things done in a very streamlined manner. You can even let your clients book themselves straight into your calendar right after they have paid and signed your contract without leaving their browser. You can also share your coaching process to set expectations. So during your first coaching session with your new clients, you should dedicate a few minutes to going over your coaching process. For instance, will you expect them to do homework in between sessions? If so, where can they submit their homework? Your goal actually at this point should be for your client to have realistic expectations of what it will be like to work with you over the period they have chosen. 1 year, 1 month, 1 quarter, You want to ask your client if they have any questions before you move on to the next part of the session. Collect all questions in your files and periodically check where you can improve your onboarding process so that you can answer said questions proactively. That will help you actually improve your interactiveness. Next, you want to ask for a testimonial and or referral. So once you have completed a few sessions with your new client, you can send them an email asking for a testimonial. The best time to do this will depend on your coaching program. Choose a time during which you expect clients to make breakthroughs or achieve their first transformations. In addition to a testimonial, the cool thing is you can also ask for a referral, right? Just imagine if every client sent you a referral, you have to spend much less time marketing your coaching business, and that will really reduce your CPA, your cost per acquisition. Now, here's a checklist I want to share with you. I want to share with you a new client onboarding checklist template, and we will put this on the screen so you have a clear idea about what the template looks like. So first, you have contract and payment process. So you want to send proposal or coaching package landing page, send payment link, send contract, sign the contract once the client has signed. So you have a lot of flexibility there. So again, we're going to put this on the screen. So when we speak about contract and payment process, we have 4 main elements. So send proposal or coaching package landing page, send payment link, send contract, and sign the contract once the client has signed. That's the first item in the checklist. Next, you want to share intake survey so that you have a clear idea what the client's expectations really are vis-a-vis you. Next, the third one, you want to provide access to digital resources if applicable. So digital resources, we're speaking about anything from ebook to whatever you have digitally. Next, you want to share login information and credentials for the client portal if applicable. So you can share, for instance, tech logistics, Slack, Voxer, Zoom link, or other if applicable. And you also want to give the client the opportunity to book the first coaching session. Here, you want to share your coaching process on the call so they have a clear idea what your expectations are. Okay, so there are no surprise for anybody. And next, you want to ask for a testimonial. And next, you want to ask for a referral. You always want to ask for a referral after a testimonial, because the testimonial really is going to add to your social credibility, to your public credibility. A referral is actually will be you can ask a referral after you can see that the testimonial was positive. If a client is happy, they'll be really willing to refer somebody else to you. Okay, now how often should you update your client onboarding checklist? Well, it really depends. In the beginning, you'll have to create your first client onboarding checklist and set up all of your automations. You can rely on this checklist for a long time. However, there will come a time when you will need to update your client onboarding checklist. There is no specific time frame coaches should rely on. If your onboarding checklist still works and helps you support your clients, don't change it. On the other hand, consider updating your checklist if you notice gaps in your process. or if your coaching program has changed significantly over time. Let me talk to you about a few things before we close to this conversation. Now, there are, when we speak about client onboarding, there are actually some client onboarding mistakes that you should be aware of this year. And so your client onboarding checklist will help you mitigate some common mistakes, including tech nightmare, lack of communication, and also not setting expectations. So when I speak about tech nightmare, imagine your client arrives late to their first coaching call with you because they can't find the Zoom link that you shared with them. This is one of many tech issues that actually plague coaches and their clients. So make sure to share all important tech credentials and information during your onboarding process. And this was kind of crazy during COVID. A lot of coaches were actually they were dealing with this sort of tech nightmare, and it was really crazy. So you don't want to have that. And also, you have a lack of communication. So your client signs your contract, pays your coaching fees, and then hears nothing but crickets. Make sure your clients feel well taken care of by communicating with them as soon as possible after they have booked a package with you, right? Again, remember, coaching is a business, and you got to treat coaching as a business. So that means what? Customer service should be preeminent. Customer service should be quintessential. And not setting expectations. So what's next in the coaching process? When can clients communicate with you? Part of the role of onboarding a new client is to provide clear expectations. Not doing so can lead to confusion and disappointment. And again, you do not want to have that because coaching is a business and coaching should be taken care of as a business. So you want to nail the client onboarding process, okay? So it's one of those things where if you are able to nail the client onboarding process, you'll be able to warmly welcome every client and grow your business through referrals and social proof. There is no easier way to set up a smooth client onboarding process than actually now. Especially you got to have the right tool though. If you have the right tool, not a problem. And you can also automate every step of the process so nothing ever falls through the cracks. So here are the closing arguments. To this conversation, I spoke to you about how to create a client onboarding checklist. I give you the synopsis, the reasons, the features, the checklist, and now the closing arguments. Thank you so much. God bless you. I'll see you next time. Until then, remember, stay marvelous.